Am I the asshole for changing the door locks back after my wife changed them? I less than 30M have a beautiful wife who loves to serve others. We bought a home down the street from my family. I have a sweet sister less than 17 who likes to crash at our house with her friends. My wife normally is pretty easygoing until recently. My sister's friends have been leaving messes. Mostly towels on the floor after using our pool. My wife got upset picking up after them every day. I have asked my sister to make sure the house is clean after they leave and it has been better. My wife also complained that some of her perfumes, clothes, personal items have gone missing. My sister said it's not her. I believe my sister. I just don't see her doing that. I told my wife and we agreed to just replace them. Last week my wife made a couple of pans of cinnamon rolls from scratch. One pan was for us, the second pan was for a county worker's family who is experiencing a tragedy. My wife went to the gym. I went to work and my sister and her friends came by. The one pan wasn't enough for her and her friends. They wanted the second pan of cinnamon rolls and my sister texted my wife asking if they could eat them. My wife said no. They ate them anyways. My wife upset went and bought new locks. When I came home my wife handed me a new key and told me that she didn't want anyone else to have a key to our house. I tried to calm her down and tell her that I would just go replace the eaten cinnamon rolls with store-bought ones. My wife decided this was her hill to die on and said no, my sister lost the privilege to come when we are not home. Replacing stolen items wasn't good enough anymore. My mom called and asked if my sister could use the pool as a back-to-school party? I was under the impression my mom would be there. I said yes. My mom was at work and our schedules clashed. The easiest solution was for me to change the locks back so they could come into the house. My mom didn't come with my sister. When my wife got home after the party, it was a mess. She sent me photos. She called me the A for changing the locks without talking to her about it. Keep in mind she did too. Then told me I broke her trust. She wasn't safe in her home because she keeps getting robbed and I refused to put an end to it. I did talk to my sister. Then my wife let me know she was staying with a friend for a while. Am I the A here? I feel like I have tried to right any wrongs that have happened. Between my wife and my sister. Update: sorry I haven't been able to reply the past couple of hours. I have been busy. I talked to my mom again and let her know my sister isn't allowed over without me home. I asked a friend's wife who is a maid to come deep clean our home. So when my wife comes home it's clean. The last thing is my mom asked me to help cover my sister's cheer. She is on track for a scholarship. I told my mom I would pay half of my wife's things were returned. If not, the money was going to replace the stolen items. Also, my sister was invited to homecoming. She wanted me to buy a dress. I told her no for not following our home rules and the money I saved for the dress is going to pay for the maid. I did replace the locks again. I also am planning a romantic dinner I will make and clean up. I heard a lot about the cinnamon rolls. Someone on here gave me the idea to make them. I am for a dessert. Update. My sister and my mom left a few minutes ago. My sister had a bag of my wife's things. More than I thought was gone. Most items are in poor shape. The big thing is she had my wife's grandmother's ring I thought was in the safe. I had no idea it was gone. My sister said that she found it on my wife's nightstand during the party. She forgot she had it on when she left our home. The ring isn't valuable, it's just sentimental. I told my mom who the ring belonged to. My mom lost it. My sister is now grounded. Last update: tonight, my wife is coming home. I am staying at a friend's house. Until we can work some of this out. I already stated it, but I did put the locks back on my wife bought. My family doesn't have that key. Early morning update. My mom called my wife last night and asked what my sister can do to replace the damaged items. My wife said, have her meet me every morning at 5 a.m. I decided to tag along and see what my wife had planned. Trying to support her in whatever punishment she decides to do. You know the cinnamon rolls. My wife's county works 4 years old is in the final stages of cancer. My wife's plan is for my sister and her to prepare breakfast, get their other kids up and ready for the day. Start laundry, basic cleanup. So her co-worker and his wife can spend as much time as he can with the sick child before work. My sister was silent the whole time coming back home. I can tell it really hit her that her life isn't as hard. Even being grounded. You are the asshole. Why don't you clean after your sister? Easy, you are the asshole. Your wife tried. Even as her clothes got stolen, house was left a mess, making more work for her and the icing on the cake. Those cinnamon rolls. Those thoughtfully made from scratch rolls for a grieving coworkers and some for her family. Made with love and care, no doubt. Only to be scarfed down by careless teenagers using your home for a pool and free stuff. Your sister could have also set stronger rules to her friends or just stop using the pool. Also, why was your sister asking your mom to ask you for the pool? Why not straight to you or her sister-in-law? Why did you assume your mother would be present when she hasn't been any other time with these minors in your home and pool? The liability also boggles my mind. Your wife sounds like a saint. Have fun being divorced, you are the asshole. Am I the asshole for not helping my parents when they are homeless? My parents are terrible with money. When I, 27F, was little, my father gambled away all the saving, about $100,000 in risky penny stocks, which got wiped out in 2008, and we were forced to move into a single bedroom in a house for the three of us. Then my mom fell for an MLM, and you can imagine what happened. They lost the down payment to the house they were saving for. I begged them not to sign up for it since I saw it was clearly a scam and showed them evidence it was, and they just laughed at me and ignored me. They lost about $28,000 from that. Then recently they fall for a college sign-up scam and lost $32,000. They weren't signing up for college, they just needed a loan and tried to go through a private broker, who promised to get them a school loan that they would use on whatever they wanted. I went with them to see the broker and told them it was a scam, and they ignored me. So basically they were trying to scam the government and got scammed instead. I actually tried to pry the pen away from my father's hands when I got desperate, as he was writing down his bank info and SSN, and he screamed at me I was embarrassing him and did it anyway. Again, they lost money and now they are homeless because their credit is crap and they can barely afford even crappy apartments. They probably can't get that money back since they have little documentation on the broker and what he promised. Now they live in their car and are begging me for money. I have about $100,000 saved waiting to buy a house, and they know about it because I stupidly told them I was saving for a house, and now are calling me and showing up at my apartment asking for money. They also want to move in the meantime, but my roommate and I agreed visitation from friends or family is max a week to prevent resentment, and if my parents move in they probably will refuse to move out. They are going to food pantries, and honestly I can't find it I myself to be that sympathetic since they don't listen to me until they need my money. Not the asshole. But I do recommend making sure to lock down your credit, since your parents may very well have your SSN, from previous year's tax returns, etc., and could get desperate enough to open stuff in your name. I'm sorry, but your instincts are right on the money. Your parents require help, but not the kind of help they want from you. For now you're relatively safe thanks to the rule you have with your roommate, but when you do get your own house I'd consider not giving them your address to avoid harassment. They've ruined their lives, don't let them do the same to yours. Not the asshole. Not the asshole. You already tried to help multiple times. You would be foolish to give them money or let them stay with you. They'd be the financial equivalent of cement shoes. Am I the asshole for forcing my father to pay child support? My father is a dick. When he got my mother pregnant he wanted her to quit her job and just stay home to be a good little wife and mother. He is very well off due to a trust fund and he doesn't really need to work. My mother refused and divorced him. Because of a prenup she got very little and he moved back to Europe. His parents never knew about me and my mother had a good profession and I never really wanted for anything. My grandmother and grandfather, her mom and dad were awesome, and I got to spend my summers exploring the wilds of Western Canada with them. My father never paid the child support he should have. Like I said, it did really matter. My mom makes good money and she gave me a great life as a child. So the point of this post. I'm, F28, getting married. I met the love of my life, M31, at university and we have been together for 8 years. He is a wonderful person and he really is my lobster. Sorry, friends reference. His family is from the same city as my father and they are a huge rambunctious bunch. Because of a lot of intermingled business and personal relationships my parental grandparents found out about my impending wedding and me I suppose. They have been in contact and want to come to Canada to meet me and my fiancé who I guess is a grandson of an acquaintance of theirs. Small world. When they found out that my father had basically abandoned me to fend for myself in this world. This is honestly how they see it, they were pissed to say the least. It is very funny because we are decidedly upper middle class here. So long story short, they had their lawyer calculate the amount of child support my father should have paid with INURIST and the cost of my post-secondary education. They then gave my this as a gift. What I didn't know was that it came out of my father's yearly draw on his trust fund. He is furious because it is obviously a sizable amount and it will very much affect his finances for at least the next 2 years. He may need to, get a job. He has been contacting me and telling me that his current wife and children will be negatively affected if I don't give him back this money. I don't really need it. And I guess I am entitled to it, and I am getting a trust fund now as well. But I really want to pay off any debt my mother may have and make sure that when she retires she can do whatever suits her fancy. I'm not giving it back. Am I the asshole? Edit. To answer some common questions. 1. My half-siblings will not really be affected. They have trust funds set up already and their tuitions and fees and stuff are covered. 2. My grandparents' family sets these up when Bakit is born. One of the reasons my father is upset is because since he didn't bother to tell his parents about me, they did not set this up. They have since taken a good chunk of his trust fund and used it to set mine up. Realistically, the principal being separated 28 years ago would have left him in the exact same position. 3. My mom was working on getting her PhD so she could help kids with a certain condition. That is what he wanted her to walk away from. 4. My grandparents have sent me pictures of my family there. The coolest thing is that my grandfather looks like the granddad from The Parent Trap. 5. My mom never remarried. But she has had a special friend since I was 5. He is amazing and taught me to swear in Colombian Spanish. Not the asshole. He should have been paying it all along. And your grandparents sound badass. Not the asshole. Imagine abandoning your own daughter only to call her years later to beg for money. A dick and pathetic. Give that money to your mama. Not the asshole. Your grandparents won't accept it back anyway. It's your grandparents' money to use however they wish. They've decided to gift it to their grandchild and not their lazy-ass son. Tell him this is between him and his parents. Definitely not the asshole. My favorite is these ones where the karma bus drives by to collect the dickheads. It's a comfort that the rest of your paternal family don't share this entitlement of your father. He's no father. Go wild with the money, make sure he knows exactly how wild. Not the asshole. They gave it freely. It is yours. If they were able to give it, it wasn't his money to control where it goes to anyway. That's how a trust works. Am I the asshole for not telling my landlord I had bought a house? I'd been renting from a landlord for a few years, and he was a pretty typical landlord. Take the rent, do as few repairs as cheap as possible, etc. I'm sure you know the drill. He also was kinda late on stuff. Like every year the lease says renewals should be sent out 2 months before the end of the lease to give the option, and every year he procrastinates until the last week or 2 of the lease. I was looking to buy my first house and I closed on one 4 months before my lease was up. But I kept some overlap so I could live in the apartment while repairing the house. 2 months before the lease was up, like usual, my landlord forgot to send out the renewals. I thought of telling him I wouldn't be renewing. Then I remembered that my neighbors who moved had trouble with him bringing way too many potential tenants to tour. Nobody wanted the apartment because the online listing was a bait and switch, so people would see something looking in good repair then come to tour and see it was shit. And nobody wanted to sign the lease, so he just kept bringing more and more people instead of making a honest listing at a honest price. So I didn't say anything. I just kept fixing up the house and moving my stuff. Then 1 week before my lease expired my landlord texted me the renewal. I actually didn't see it because I had my phone on Don't Disturb, but the next morning he kept texting wanting my signed renewal. I told him I didn't plan on renewing, and he got really angry. Demanding to know what apartment I was moving to next. I got the impression he wanted to call my next landlord to bitch about me. Anyway, I told him I was moving back in with my parents. I didn't want to tell him about the house because of the temper he was getting with me. He started showing the apartment right away, but I'd already finished moving out so it didn't bother me. But when I stopped by to turn in my keys, and ask for my security deposit, he got angry saying that I had some nerve asking for $1,300 when I just screwed him out of a month rent by not giving notice. I told him that the security deposit was for damages, and if he wanted to withhold it he would have to send over an itemized list of damages and receipts for repairs. He gave me the security deposit back but yelled at me that he took care of his tenants and I was selfish for leaving without notice. I just left, but I guess I'm feeling kinda conflicted. On one hand, it is literally his job. His only job. To handle leases and find out who's renewing. And if he forgot, that's not really my problem. But I also know I knew I was leaving for the better part of a year and I told him with less than a week. Am I the asshole for not telling my landlord I bought a house? Edit. For all you keyboard lawyers in the comments being like your lease says. I've read my lease. It doesn't say half the shit y'all saying it says. Have you read my lease? And if so, how the hell did you get into my bedroom desk guys? Not the asshole. If you want to be a landlord, and you expect to earn that passive income, you need to take care of the basics. Not the asshole. He didn't follow the rules of the lease. Since you don't mention any rules about a 30-day notice. That it seems to have to go from lease to lease. That's his bad, not yours. You don't have to give notice with a lease. The end of the lease is the notice. And maybe he would have known sooner if he'd actually done his job correctly. It's on him to send the renewal and to keep track of his property. You only have to give notice if you want to leave prior to it ending, or if the lease goes month to month and you want a month's notice. A lot of tenants use the end of a lease as their move-out date. For exactly the reasons you listed. He can frump all he wants, but I'd go with not the asshole.